Oh god, Time Stranger doesn't come out for another 2 months. What the hell do I do? I can't just make another video blathering on about how excited I am for this game. Or can I? Digimon Story Time Stranger will be the greatest JRPG of all time. Burn that statement into your minds and remember that I was the one who said it first. Am I setting my expectations too high? Well, yeah, maybe, but screw it, I want to have hope in this game. And here's the thing, in all my years of living, Digimon has never ever let me down. Get out of here, you two. Okay, fine, maybe I should calm down a bit. So I'll say that even if this game doesn't end up being my favorite game of all time, I don't see a world where it doesn't end up being in my top 10 at the very least. Everything I've seen so far from this game is just getting me more and more hyped up. All of the different new Digimon, the combat, the environments, the enormous cast of characters, the art style, everything. And Digimon already holds a very special place in my heart. It literally shaped my childhood. So this newest game could very easily worm its way into my #1 spot on my list of games. But why does that matter exactly? Well, it's because for the past 15 or so years, my #1 game of all time has never changed. That game, of course, being Persona 3. You know that burger image where it's like story, 10 out of 10, gameplay, 10 out of 10, music, 100 out of 10. Yeah, that's basically Persona 3 for me. From ages 4 to 8, however, my favorite game of all time was a little PS1 game called Digimon World 2. A game that, of course, doesn't hold up that well in this day and age, but I do think some of the ideas it implemented back then were completely bonkers and ahead of its time. No other video game would have even tried to emulate it back then because most developers weren't insane. But for what it's worth, it brought me a lot of joy at the time before it got dethroned by everything the Persona series has to offer. So do you know how cool it would be if a Digimon game came back out on top after all these years? Time and time again, I've looked at trailers for upcoming games and went, this is it. This is gonna be the Persona 3 killer. This is gonna be my new favorite game of all time. But it never actually happens. Something always goes wrong. This happened just last year, in fact, with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. A spectacular game that had everything. Perfect gameplay, perfect music, over 200 monsters to recruit, a sprawling open world with an endless supply of things to do, sick-looking special attacks that make you feel like a badass. Did you notice what just happened there? Let me try that again. Digimon Story Time Stranger, a spectacular game that had everything. Perfect gameplay, perfect music, over 450 monsters to recruit, a sprawling open world with an endless supply of things to do, and sick-looking special attacks that make you feel like a badass. Do you see what I'm saying now? But where Shin Megami Tensei 5 went wrong was in its story and characters, which couldn't hold a candle to the Persona series. So if Digimon Story Time Stranger, emphasis on story, can manage to have a likable cast of characters, then things are looking very good for Digimon. But let's go into more detail, shall we? What would Digimon Story Time Stranger need to accomplish for it to be my and maybe your new favorite JRPG of all time? If you're new to the channel, I normally judge a game's quality based on the following criteria in order of importance. We got gameplay, characters, story, soundtrack, art style / graphics, whichever you prioritize. I'm more of an art style kind of guy. Good graphics are always a plus, but mediocre graphics are never a negative. And finally, we got uniqueness, as in what does a game do in order to distinguish itself or stand out among its peers. Let's forget about that last one for this video, because I mean, it's Digimon. That fact alone makes it especially unique. Let's look at gameplay first. The one thing they have to get right, no matter what, a good story can't save a game with bad gameplay, but good gameplay can save a game from a bad everything else. From everything I'm seeing, gameplay looks to be incredibly fun and addicting, but there is one teeny tiny little thing that has me worried. And it's this. Oh, maybe you didn't notice it. Let's rewind the footage a bit more. Do you see it yet? That's right, this little guy, Agumon. I do not want Digimon to be stuck in our party as a permanent 4th party member. That just sounds lame. In a monster taming game, I want my party of monsters to be comprised of the monsters I raised. Having Digimon around 24/7 defeats the purpose of team building. This hasn't been confirmed, of course, so I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope him being here is just a temporary thing, like how you get guest party members in Cyber Sleuth. If that's not the case, then they really would be committing a major mistake. remake. But that's the only thing I'm worried about gameplay-wise, really. Looking at the gameplay, I can see that the element and weakness systems are now way more akin to Shin Megami Tensei and Persona games, where it's now possible to nullify certain elements completely and whatnot. I'm all for this. Honestly, if this game's battle system is just SMT5 with a Digimon coat of paint, I'd be a very happy man. SMT is the highest standard for turn-based battle systems, so if Digimon is going to copy someone's homework, they might as well copy from the nerdiest guy in class. And 450 different Digimon, by the way. Do you comprehend how bonkers that is? Has there ever been a monster tamer that had that many monsters to collect? Hold on a sec. Oh, never mind. Monster Rancher had 512 at some point. Oh, wait, no, this is Monster Rancher we're talking about. More than half of those are reskins. So no, my point still stands. This is bonkers. We haven't gotten much info in terms of dungeons and exploration. We know the main central hub of the game is jam-packed with little details and stuff to do, which is very exciting. I'm just hoping actual dungeons share that same level of detail and level design, you know? No more empty digital cyberspaces, please. We're done with that. Lastly, it seems like PvP isn't a thing anymore, which is kind of sad. I'll really miss getting my ass handed to me by guys with Japanese usernames for hours. But if no PvP means better balance, I'd say it's an overall positive. Next up, let's talk characters. And yes, I do in fact value well-written characters more than I do a well-written overall story. The two are linked, of course, but most of the times upon finishing a game, it's the characters that end up sticking in this big old head of mine more than stories do at the very least. As for Digimon's history of characters in their games, they're alright. Some stand out more than others. I love the Hackers Memory Crew. They actually felt like a close-knit group of friends. They had some really fun interactions, so I'm hoping Time Stranger's cast can provide that as well. And since we're in the digital world this time, we get to have more actual Digimon be featured as part of the story as well. I'm especially glad they're giving us an English dub this time. That was the best decision they could have made. I don't know about you, but it's much easier to connect with characters when I can actually directly understand what they're saying. The fact that every single Digimon gets unique voice lines in battle is especially a highlight to me. It's gonna give them so much more personality. Reminds me of the Digimon World 2 days where they got a whole 3 voice actors to dub all 100 plus Digimon in that game. I'm expecting more than 3 voice actors this time though. We get a bunch of characters this time, and looking at all of them, I don't know man, they look like they have potential. They're giving me Psychopath vibes. And look at this idiot. I love him already. I think Monica's gonna be my favorite. She's giving me Fumi from Devil Survivor, as in always bored 1000 IQ scientist woman. From what we know about the game's story so far, it's looking to be very intriguing this time around. Time travel is involved, that always leads to interesting developments, and Digimon has always played around with the concept of time, like how it's always the case that the digital world and the real world operate at vastly different speeds. I gotta say, the 2 Cyber Sleuth games had really good stories, really good as far as monster tamers go, but if I told you I can recall the game's plot in detail, I would also be lying to you. There was some amnesia bullshit going on. The Royal Knights were involved and they did things, and anytime they showed up, the music goes like... Okay, the point is we can only go up from here. This next point is important. For an unmemorable storyline, Cyber Sleuth had some pretty long cutscenes. I enjoyed them for the most part, but they were very, very intrusive. A lot of the times I was thinking, guys, can you please just shut up? I want to get into fights using the Digimon I worked so hard on raising already. That's why I'm here. I want Digimon to provide an actual engaging yet unintrusive narrative this time. It doesn't have to be this masterpiece of storytelling, but I at least want to leave this experience thinking, wow, what an adventure, or something to that extent. And if Time Stranger wants to make it big, they gotta work on fixing that gameplay to story ratio. That's priority number 1 right now. I'd say 70-30 or 80-20 is usually the sweet spot for games like this. Soundtrack. This is an easy one to get right. Digimon has a history of having some really great music in their games. Hell, Digimon World 3 has my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. With that being said, the Digimon Story games have settled on a different composer ever since Cyber Sleuth, the legend Masafumi Takada. And I think that Cyber Sleuth's soundtrack was fine. Yeah, I'm not crazy about it as much as you all are. It's really hit or miss for me. The battle theme, for one, was atrocious, to say the least. I don't know how you mess up a normal encounter theme. That's supposed to be the one piece of music that you should never get tired of hearing. But at the same time, they hit us with this. Then they slow down a bit and hit us with this. Then they go back to. So yeah, the soundtrack can be incredible when they actually try. So with the success of Cybersleuth, I'm going to assume they're going all out on this next one. I've heard the battle theme already, and it's not the greatest piece of music known to man, but it's an improvement for sure. But remember, according to me, this is supposed to be the greatest JRPG of all time. A just okay soundtrack isn't gonna cut it. So let's hope the rest of this soundtrack delivers. They recently revealed this factory area along with a snippet of music, and I really like this one. It's very fitting. Here, have a listen. Finally, let's talk art style and graphics. I care about art style more, so let's start with that. A lot of people seem to clown on Suzuhiro Yasuda's art style, specifically because of the outfits he decides to give the women. Like, goddamn, are you seeing this? Outfits so tight I could see their belly button through those bad boys. I didn't know clothes could do that, but even with the ridiculousness of these designs, I like them. They're unique. Or maybe I'm just a creep who likes objectifying women. You caught me. Call it what you will, but this is a signature art style. It's one you could easily identify at a glance. You gotta admit how impressive that is, at least. It takes talent to pull that off. But I understand the complaints. I, for one, will not be picking Kanan, the female protagonist, at least not on my first playthrough, because her outfit is very distracting. I'm here to see some Digimon, not stare at some thick anime thighs. Maybe I'll cave in after starting a game though, I don't know. Speaking of the Digimon, my god, have you seen them? Honestly, I think we've hit the peak, graphically I mean. This is as perfect as Digimon is going to look going forward. Just look at War Greymon. I can see his veins popping out of his biceps. The special attack animations are also looking crisp, and same goes for the environments. The digital world is always a joy to explore whichever game you're playing. The mix of nature and then digital is such a weird yet endearing aesthetic. There's nothing quite like it. You could just be walking around the forest and then wait, is that a goddamn phone dial? So I'm really hoping we get to see sights just as bizarre and in 60 frames per second this time. Right, let's address the bad news. Digimon Story Time Stranger will be running at a maximum of 30 frames per second on consoles. And listen, I get it, it's a shame. I was pretty bummed out when I first found out too, but at the same time, I know that 60 frames per second isn't a necessity. No 10 out of 10 game has ever been deemed otherwise thanks to lower frame rates. Not to me at least. I would like to see higher frame rates on all platforms next time, but for now, I'm willing to let it slide. That's all from me for now though. I just really wanted an excuse to talk about this game again, really. Now, even if Time Stranger doesn't end up being my new favorite game of all time, it's most certainly going to be my game of the year this year, right? They gotta mess up pretty bad for it to not be. All it has to do is beat out Clear Obscure, which I'm going through right now. Incredible game, this one. I normally don't do traditional video game reviews on this channel, but Digimon is special to me, so do expect a full review for Time Stranger later this year. Anyway, thank you for watching, subscribe if you're into Digimon or JRPGs or whatever the hell else I do on this channel, and see ya.